You remember Musa alayhi salam, and they crossed the Red Sea, and now they're in Sinai. And they couldn't construct a masjid, so what they had was a tent, and the tent would be moving all around, so it's called a tabernacle. So he gives a khutbah, a sermon. And it was a fine sermon. And then someone came to him and said to him, Musa, alayhi salam, what a fine sermon you delivered. You must be the most learned man in the world. Now, what he should have said was, Alhamdulillah, praise is due to Allah. What he should have said was, it is from Allah that knowledge comes. What he should have said was, فَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above every learned man is one who is more learned. Recognize Allah as the source of knowledge. That is what he should have done. But he didn't do that. And Harvard University doesn't do that. And Princeton and Yale don't do that. And your university here don't do that. He said, yes, I am the most learned man in the world. And they all do the same thing. Whenever you do that, whenever you secularize knowledge and education, and by secularizing knowledge and education, what you're doing is saying, you are out of this picture. We're in charge here. Allah responds by cutting off your internal sight. So now you only have external vision. So that's what happened to Musa alayhi salam. Then Allah said to him, you're not the most learned. There's a servant of mine more learned than you are. He says, I want to meet him. Where will you meet this servant? What is his name? Khidr alayhi salam. Where will you meet this servant who is more learned than Musa alayhi salam? Surah Al-Kahf gives the answer. You will find him at Majma'ul Bahrain. You will find him at the place where the two oceans meet. The two oceans meet. The commentator of the Qur'an, Imam Baydawi, has given a beautiful interpretation of this. He says that the two oceans are the ocean of knowledge which comes from external observation, and the ocean of knowledge which comes from internal, intuitive, spiritual insight. When these two oceans of knowledge come together and are integrated in a single individual, as they were in my teacher, Rahimahullah, Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari, as they were in his teacher, Rahimahullah, Maulana Abdul Alim Siddiqui, Rahimahullah. When these two oceans of knowledge come together and are integrated harmoniously in a single individual, that is the most learned of all men. And that's the only man who will read the signs of Allah in the last age. Harvard can't do it. This then is the function and the purpose of spirituality. Question 4. When will the last hour come? And he replied and said, the one who is questioned has no more knowledge than the one who is questioning. Meaning, this is not a subject that we should be addressing our attention to, because this knowledge resides only with Allah. Only with Allah. When will the end come? But the Qur'an has something interesting to say about it. It says that those in whose heart there is no faith respond differently from those in whose heart there is faith. The one who has faith always thinks that the last hour is close. Close. But the one who has no faith always thinks that the last hour is far away. And so there is a psychology of religion located in the question and in the answer. Number 4. A profound psychology of religion. And now comes question 5. What are the signs of the last day? Both the signs which are given in this answer, both relate to Dajjal. In consequence of which, this visit of Gabriel, of Jebreel alayhi salam, is giving an ominous message to us that you will not be able to understand Dajjal, the false Messiah. You will not be able to understand the world in the age of Dajjal, the false Messiah, unless and until you are blessed with internal spiritual insight, unless you have that thing called spirituality. He gave 2 answers, 2 signs of the last day. He said that you'd find naked, barefooted shepherds. I hope no Prime Minister feels I'm talking about him. You'd find the naked, barefooted shepherds, meaning people who have the intellectual acumen of naked, barefooted shepherds. That is their intellectual acumen. You will find the naked, barefooted shepherds competing with each other to build the tallest building in the world. To build the best airport in the world. People who have the intellectual acumen of naked, barefooted shepherds will now measure progress with high-rise buildings. Look at the number of high-rise buildings we have. Look at the skyline. This is evidence of progress. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Look at them. They don't have any skyline like this. They don't have high-rise buildings. They're still in the stage of kampung. That's backward. That's a sign of backwardness. And this is a sign of progress. You measure progress with high-rise buildings. And so they compete with each other in building high-rise buildings. But you don't have to have much common sense. You don't have to have much knowledge to know that this is false. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The best of you, the noblest of you, in the sight of Allah, is he or she who has the greatest fear of Allah in the heart. And so a people may be living in bamboo houses, but in their hearts there is the fear of Allah. And you have built the tallest building in the world, and the grandest airport in the world. And you and your companions may consider yourselves to be so progressive, and they're so backward. But in your heart there is no fear of Allah.